What is going on, YouTube? It is Shifu Stew coming at you guys with not a deck list this week, but a Scarlet and Violet Journey Together review. So, shout out to Justin Basil for the card translations, and I'm positive that this is not the first card review of Journey Together you guys have seen. This is just your first Shifu Stew card review. So, I'm stoked to get after it. Something I've wanted to start doing for content for the past couple of weeks. I've just been really focused on the deck lists that I've been cooking lately and playing with. Having a ton of fun with deck lists, and we got two more coming this week, so don't worry about that. But this is something I'm going to start doing for new card sets. The whole thing for me, though, is doing it on release is a little bit less exciting than doing it right before we get them. Because I personally have been looking at these cards since release, cooking mental concepts since release. I'm just ready for them at this point, right? I want the cards in my hands. I want to play with them. I know I don't play IRL, but I'm planning on getting into it maybe here soon. So I've been looking at some decks to look at singles for. Anyway, that's a different story time for a different day. But I'm ready to get into this list. Before I do it, I want to shout out the Cook-Off Creator Tournament. So it's going to be freaking awesome. I actually got a poster I'll be adding into like the very end of the video, so shout out to Ginge TCG for putting that together, but really huge shout out to Chef Husky for putting the whole thing together, right? We wouldn't have this tournament if he didn't invite all of the creators together. There's now a huge Discord for all of these creators. Pretty much all of your favorite PTCGL creators are in a Discord together now. A lot of us are working on some collab opportunities. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon. So guys, huge shout out to Chef for that. Obviously my favorite creator there, but a bunch of my other favorite creators are in the tournament. Snipe the Bench just joined. I can't wait, right? This is going to be a blast. I really think if we win this, the channel could get, a ton of just traffic, subs, views. But guys, even if we don't win the tournament, we go out round one. It was a blast just to meet all of these other creators and to set up some collabs with them, right? There's a lot of stuff on the horizon for Shifu Stew. I personally can't wait. I know you guys are going to love it. Some sweet content ahead. Not going to spoil anything. Let's dive into the translations of these cards. Again, shout out to Justin Basil for doing it. Your boy does not know Japanese. I'm going to be taking intermittent breaks to sip my little espresso cup here, so bear with me on those. And guys, let's get after it. Caterpie, Metapod, and Butterfree. Mid. Not even mid. Worse than mid. Butterfree isn't going to do anything. It's 60 damage. Flip 4 coins. It does 60 for each. You're not hitting 4 heads. You might hit 2 heads, which means that your opponent's active is paralyzed, but you're banking on 2 heads from a 4-head flip to get your opponent paralyzed to do 120 damage. You're too deep, right? That's going to be our limit. If you're too deep, you're too deep. If you're playing Butterfree, you're too deep. Moving on, we got Paris and Parasect. Obviously, you have to have Paris to get to the Parasect, and Parasect is cool because it has Spore for 1 colorless, and it sends someone to sleep. But we're going to see the Spore attack just like continue to get better as we go through this set. So Parasect definitely drew the shortest straw of all. We got Petalil and Lilligant. I actually think Lilligant has a little bit of value moving forward. It's got Sunny Day, so your Grass and Fire Pokemon attacks do 20 more damage. Only to your opponent's active, though. I think there's maybe a world where like a Victini, a Lilligant can do some damage on some fire type evolutions, but even more scary would be Lilligant finding Mochi, Poison Package, Budew, right? We've got this deck already in the format where people are getting Budew up to like 60, 80 damage. We're adding 20 here. It's going to be a bad day if you get hit for 100 damage by a Budew, and I think it's on the horizon. So just be careful out there, guys. Check yourselves some Budews. Keep your 30 damage on hand and strapped, right? Keep that 30 loaded. Maractus, though. Let's keep it going. This card's going to be huge, right? It's already huge. It's already getting played in a lot of decks, and the reason is it does so much, right? If you guys liked Mawile with Tempting Trap, we've got that with Corner, but we're also dealing 20 damage, so we're dealing damage and forcing a Pokemon to not be able to retreat. Then we also have Bursting Needle. If it's in the active spot and it's knocked out, you put 6 back on them. I think Maractus is going to go really well in the Lycanroc deck coming out. Spike Energy, new Lycanrocs. We will get to those cards. Maractus is really good against Budu. I mean, guys, imagine a world where somebody is running a deck without switch cards and they're banking on Latias. Maractus could potentially do 20 to a Budu and lock it in the active, which could give you another turn to prep something before their big hitter comes. This card just has a ton of value, a ton of tech, and you're going to see it in deck lists. Already seen it in City League list. I'm a fan. You guys are going to be fans. You're going to be playing it. You're going to be picking it up. You're going to be putting it in decks. It's just a good card. Carablast, 10 damage, switch out your opponent's active to the bench. That's actually kind of interesting, but it's not good enough to really run. Fungus, guys, I said Spore was going to get better. This is Spore Ball for 10 damage, and they're asleep, so we're already plus 10 from Parasect. And then Amoonguss EX is plus 30 from Parasect, right? So Spore Ball's on 30, opponent's active is now asleep. Perilous Jungle, Poison Package, Lilligant. We could probably get Amoonguss EX to be doing 100, 110-ish while also sending someone to sleep, which is probably better than ever using Mushroom Swing. So maybe Amoonguss EX finds itself in some weird poison-esque deck. I just don't see it, right? Sleep isn't powerful enough to invest in a 260 HP grass type that's doing maybe 110 with every active boost on it. I don't think it gets a ton of play, but I love Amoonguss, and in VGC it's a Titan, so interesting to me to see the differences between what really pops off in card games versus in the VGC. Moving on though, we've got Shelmet, which can prevent damage to itself. It's okay, but it evolves into Excelgor, Ephemeral Poison. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused and poisoned. Switch this Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. Guys, Excelgor Tyranitar. The new Tyranitar that we will cover has an ability that item locks. You are going to poison package Excelgor with T-Tar. You're going to have Perilous Jungle on board to increase that poison damage to 3, meaning that we're already doing 100 damage base just with the attack, right? 3 damage from poison, 70 from the active. Then we're going to add things like our Binding Mochi, right? Because we know that Excelgor is going to be poisoned, but only temporarily. So we've got our Brute Bonnet in the back. It's got the Ancient Booster. It's going to poison the Excelgor. It's going to poison our opponent. Our opponent is going to have 30 extra damage. Then they're going to take 40 extra from our Mochi. Then we're going to deal 70 from the actual attack, switch out, leave them confused. That's a 140 switch attack with confusion and poison that leaves an item lock in the active. It's going to be a fun deck. It's going to be strong in the right hands, and I cannot wait to see Excelgor T-Tar excel. All right, I get it. That pun might have been too much, but that's what we do here at the channel. Durant. Mid, less than mid. It's too deep. Don't play it. So much coin flipping, man. And for what, right? Like 90 HP grass type. The Durant EX in our current format kind of sucks too, and it discards a card just for playing it. I like Durant. I really like Hustle Durant, but it just doesn't seem like we're gonna get like attacking Durant out of the game. Virizion, nah, you're not gonna be playing that. Sprigatito and Florigato. I mean, you tell me if you're really gonna be playing a 1-cost Meowscarada line. I actually don't mind the Meowscarada. I think that Showtime is interesting. It gives me Decidueye EX vibes, so could actually see a world where maybe Meowscarada, Iron Valiant, you're getting more pings in because of it. And then Rising Bloom has potential, right? If your opponent's active EX or active Pokemon is an EX, it does 90 more. So that's 180. Against Zards, that's 360, right? Against Zoroark, it takes them out too because they're dark type. So I could see Meowscarada maybe getting a little bit of tech, but very unlikely. And then Nimble, man, even with low kicks being like a baby Ursaluna on steroids. I think low kicks does 60 damage per damage counter on your opponent, which is nuts. It's just not good. It's a stage 1. It's too weak. Takes too much energy. If low kicks only required 1 energy and it was like colorless and you could jet energy it, it'd probably be okay, but it's not. We're not going to play it. We'll move on. Magmar and Magmortar. Oh my god, I love this card. So Magmar, of course, is just that is what it is. Got a chance to burn your opponent's Pokemon. Same with Magmortar's attack. Got a chance to burn it with a coin flip. But Magmortar's ability, this is just nasty. During Pokemon checkup, put 3 more damage counters on your opponent's burned Pokemon. 3 more damage counters. Guys, this doesn't say anything about stacking. You could have 4 Magmortars out and be dealing a Dusknoir worth of bonus damage on burn. And this is 3 more on top of it, right? So we're really hitting with burn now. You guys, we will see a Volcanion coming up that is going to help this Magmortar build a lot. I'm a huge fan of it. I think Magmortar and Incineroar is going to be massive, right? Benches are getting bigger and bigger as the game continues to lean into Terra types with Area 0. I'm stoked. I really can't wait to see how this card manifests, and I think there's value in it beyond just bad decks. I think Magmortar will actually have some form of use in something competitive. It's just going to take time to tell. My favorite starter of all time is Blaziken. So the Torchic and Combusken, they're okay. The arts are nice. Look at this artwork, man. This is banging. Giving us the Blaze Kick with the claws. All right. I love it. But Blaziken EX is a beast. He's got 320 HP, so he's thick as hell. His ability is Overflowing Spirit. Once per turn, you may attach a basic energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon. I don't think I need to explain why this is so powerful, but this is an incredible ability. Not only does it allow you to turbo your own board a little bit faster than you would have without it, this fixes several decks that run very limited lines of energy. Not every deck has the luxury to run a ton of energy, and so in decks where you are limited and your opponent has any amount of energy disruption, this Blaziken actually gets you out of a lot of sticky situations. Plus, it's dealing 200 damage. This is going to reverse KO anything that's got a little bit of chip damage on it. And so if you need to get a revenge KO on someone, Blaziken EX might just be your guy. He can attack the next turn, but I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. You'll only have 1 energy, and then you'll attach 1 back when you get him in. Thing here about Blaziken is you can attach any basic energy. He's not forced to be in a fire deck, so I love the utility here. I think we're going to see Blaziken EX in a lot of decks. Again, some of these cards are just going to take time to manifest their place in the new format. Torkoal, you're too deep. If you're playing Torkoal, you're too deep. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Nothing here is good enough to play. Through Retreat, 130 HP, not poffinable. Quit diving that deep, guys. Ins Darumaka and Ins Darmanitan. We're going to talk about Ins Zoroark coming up here soon, but basically Ins Zoroark can use any attack from any of your Ins Pokemon on your bench. So the Darumaka is there solely to allow Darmanitan to evolve, because if you guys aren't aware, a partner Pokemon requires a partner pre-evolution. Ins Darmanitan does not evolve from Darumaka. It evolves directly from Ins Darumaka. So you gotta make sure that you have the Ins version for everything to make it work, or the Iono's version, or the Lily's version, or the Steve, whatever it is, you've gotta have the partner for the entire list of them. And Ins Darmanitan is why this deck is doing well in City Leagues right now. In fact, Ins deck is looking like the best deck. Based on performance, I know that Hops looks like it has the best combos in it. I know that Iono's looks like it can do a lot of damage with the Voltorb if needed. Ins deck is doing the best post-rotation right now in City League statistically. And a lot of it is because of this attack on Darmanitan, Darmani Cannon. It is literally Moonlight Shuriken on Radiant Greninja. 90 and 90. 90 to the active, 90 to one on the bench. It is so powerful. And guys, there is this in between stage ran. Right now, Manaphy's rotated. Shaman still hasn't released yet. The reason In's deck is doing the best is because it has this spread potential and there's no one to stop the spread. Sure, there's a Rabsco. Sure, there's Mist Energy. When's the last time you played against a Rabsco or saw Mist Energy? No, I'll wait. I'll wait. All right, well, now that we got that out of the way, back to the regular scheduled programming. Ins is going to work. I'm going to play it. And guys, we might just do like an elo grind with ins. I might legit like do a series where I might even stream some, but I might do a series where it's like, hey, let's get as much elo as we can with this ins deck, right? So moving on, Larvesta and Volcarona. Ugh, I want the bug type Volcarona, and I know it'd be grass type. I know we had a split grass and fire paradox weird delta species type. That was before I started playing, but I want a grass type Larvesta. It's not just fire type, it's also a bug. But really, what disappoints me more about these two cards than the typing, Will-O-Wisp. This is not the first time we will see this. I believe a Lowland Marowak as well also has a Will-O-Wisp attack on it. They've got to stop printing Will-O-Wisp without the ability to burn. I, even if it's a coin flip, I know I don't like coin flip statuses, but that's like Will-O-Wisp is the burning move in the mainline games, and it's just a damage move in the card game. It's weird to me. But you know, some of these takes are less about the cards themselves and almost seem like they should be in a podcast format with a couple other creators, and maybe I'm alluding to something on the horizon. But let's keep it cooking. Reshiram EX and Volcanion EX. Okay, we'll wait before Volcanion. Reshiram EX is super mid. It very much so reminds me of Reshiram V, but without the ability to turbo itself. And Scorching Fire will discard an energy. So the flip side is that Reshiram V had the ability to turbo itself. Very powerful. My buddy actually played a Reshiram V deck and it's super fun to play against. Looks super fun to play. You're talking like a ridiculous amount of energy, very fast on the board. However, Reshiram V had this main attack that you would flip a coin. If it flipped tails, you couldn't use that big attack next turn. Well, with Reshiram EX, they got rid of the ability saying that he couldn't attack, but you do have to discard an energy from it. I'm sure my buddy is going to build a deck around this because he loves Reshiram. The way you'd want to do it this time is with a boomerang energy, right? Discard that boomerang, bring it right back at end of turn. The reality though, guys, is that Reshiram EX it's going to be a meme. It's not going to be an actual strong card on its own. It does have the ability to KO a Budew turn 1 with Firewing, so very cool there. We love Budew hate. But yeah, if you're playing Reshiram EX, you're deep. Maybe you're not too deep. Maybe you're just in love with your fave legendary, but you're pretty deep, buddy. Volcanion though. Oh my god, this card cooks, right? Scorching Steam. Once per turn, if this Pokemon's in the active spot, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon burned. We just talked about Magmortar, guys. There's not much more I need to explain here. However, I don't think that this is solely a Magmortar deck card, right? I could see a world where there is like a Hearthflame, Ogerpon, and Area Zero, Latias, and you're trying to cook up like a Magmortar, Volcanion, Ogerpon, Terra deck. Your bench is huge, Terra Area Zero, because so many people are running. I could see that deck happening. But I could also see Volcanion just going in every deck with a Latias. It's just extra damage, right? I could see this going in poison package decks just to get burn and poison. I could see this going in things like Dusknoir Budew decks, right? Just to be able to swap around, get extra damage numbers off, right? A tiny bit of extra damage can make the difference in the math. And Volcanion EX does it for free as long as you have switching potential, right? He's basic. So I love the card. I think it's going to be really powerful, and I think we're going to see it in a lot of decks, right? we're gonna see it in a lot more decks than some other cards, especially a lot more in Magmortar. It's just powerful. Articuno, pretty mid, which is a shame because this is my favorite bird. You're pretty deep if you're playing Articuno, to be honest. But there is a new artwork for the Articuno coming out. It's a full art. Looks freaking awesome. Shout out to my buddy Seth. We're actually thinking about doing some content in the future, totally focused on new sets like this. But I come from the perspective of a player, and he comes from the perspective of a collector, and we kind of just like hash out what our favorite cards of the set are. So if you guys think that that's a cool concept, let me know in the comments below. I don't collect. I am thinking about playing IRL here soon. Going to be potentially ordering a deck, so that's exciting. But beyond that, he's really like the collector one. He'd be the one bringing that side of it. So I think it'd be fun to make that content. If you guys think it'd be fun to watch it, let me know. Remoraid and Octillery. Listen, dude. If you're playing Octillery, you're too deep. It's coin flip for minimal damage. Aqua Wash to move an energy from their active to their hand. I just don't see it ever getting played, right? We got a little Lotad journey here. Ah, yes, the Ludicolo. So the Lotad and Lombre do evolve into a very powerful evolution Pokemon. Has the ability Vital Samba. Each of your Pokemon in play gets 40 plus HP. Now this effect clearly states it does not stack. You don't need it stacked. This is a beast, dude. 40 plus HP. I mean, this is going to counter all of your Gravity Mountains trying to take you down by 30 and still give you plus 10. But one of the things you need to be careful about Ludicolo is if you're playing around that 40 HP and this card gets bossed up and KO'd and all your Pokemon lose 40 HP, you're in a bad move, right? You basically just got like ultra devoed, but instead of devoing 2 prizers to 1s, you're just losing your 2 prizers, right? So definitely a double-edged sword, but it's gonna be good in some water decks. I could actually see maybe a Ludicolo going in this Whale Lord deck, but we'll talk about it in a second. Wingull and Pelipper are just not it, Chief. I'm gonna be real. Way too deep if you're playing either of these cards. Whalmer, gotta have it to get a Whale Lord. But then, guys, this dude right here is a beast. 4 colorless energy, already does 10 damage, but for every water attached does 50 more. So if we had all water, we're at 210, which is pretty solid on a 240 HP water type. Could have it at 280 with a Ludicolo. Basically, this is the new Shenpao. In my opinion, it's a little bit better than Shenpao, right? So Poketown TV, if you guys haven't watched their content, they do a lot of awesome proxying decks, explaining new decks, playing with them tabletop. I'm a huge fan. I watch them every week. They did a deck on this Wailord with Dun Sparse, Enriching Energy, and Baxcalibur. I'm going to play that deck. We're going to do a video on that deck list, and we're going to shout out Poketown TV when we do it because, first off, Enriching Energy on Dun Sparse, so smooth. The most satisfying draw engine in the game. +4 for playing it, +3 for the Dun Sparse going back. You get to do the whole combo over again because you never lost your Enriching Energy. Wailord hitting for like 210 regularly is dope, but with a Baxcalibur bringing it up to whatever number we want it to be, you got a bunch of water energy in this deck, you got a bunch of retrieval in this deck. We're KOing anything in the game. I don't even care if it is a mega Pokemon, which we will talk about in the future. You're KOing it for 3 prizes. I love Wailord, always have, always will. Very excited to see this card pop off. Regice. All Regis could have been cool. None of them ever are. 90 damage for 10 to each of the benched. I don't know. A water and a colorless for 30. You're too deep, man. You're too deep if you're playing Regice. Now, Veluza. I don't know. Maybe it's too deep. Maybe it's not, right? Razorfin for 1 water can take out a Budew, so it could be cool to have a Veluza EX in like a water box type deck. I think Purge Strike has a lot of potential. You can discard your hand for 240 damage. You don't have to have a hand, right? I mean, we see this all the time. You can use Professor's Research as the last card in your hand. All you do is draw 7. If you're playing a deck where you don't often have a hand, I could see Veluza EX kind of working out. For all of my dudes who came here from Yu-Gi-Oh, I low-key feel like Veluza EX is starting a new trend where it's like an Infernity type archetype, where you don't want cards in your hand. And I wonder if they're printing cards like this because of the new Baynet that we'll talk about soon. But the idea of not having cards in your hand and getting benefits out of it, very Infernity. So we'll get into the electric types: the Alolan Geodude, the Alolan Graveler, and the Alolan Golem. Electromagnetic Catapult is a coin flipper until you get tails, but for every heads you deal 70. So basically, Raging Bolt on a coin flip, I hate it. I'm not going to play it. I don't recommend you play it either. I don't think this card is going to see a lot of play. Maybe you Grand Tree into an Alolan Golem and you actually crush people. I don't know. You heard it here first. I think LDF does a bad deck Friday on Alolan Golem. You heard it here first. But Iono's cards are also in this new set, and this is what we need to be talking about, guys. Iono's Voltorb is sick. For starters, the artwork on it, crazy colors, very nice. Chain Bolt starts with 20, just like our Whale Lord we talked about starts with 10. Then we get 20 more for each lightning attached to our Iono's Pokemon. This is crazy, right? Once we see Belly Bolt, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. We have a ton of energy ramping with Iono's deck. Voltorb is your main attacker. I know Electrode's right here, but Electrode sucks compared to Voltorb. And I say that because Electrode's main attack is Heart Pounding Bomb. You automatically deal 100 to yourself, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out. All right. I know what some of you guys are saying. Well, Luxurious Cape, that means I could survive the 100. Or, even a Hero's Cape. All potentially true. But something to keep in mind is that this deck is going to be using, I think it's called Hyper Rod, the new Super Rod. That's an ace spec that brings back like 5 energy and Pokemon straight to your hand. You're going to be using that ace spec, so no Hero's Cape. The reason you're going to be using that ace spec is because you need it to be able to get all these energies on the board if we're sending them to the discard. But Iono's Electrode should be a one of in the deck. And I know a lot of people are saying you don't even run the Electrode. I disagree. I think at one of, what it does is it takes a game that is potentially a 0% chance win board state, and I just can't get through this giant EX. I can't beat it damage wise. I'm going to lose this game. To, all right, well, now I've got a 50% chance to KO that Pokemon and win this game. That could be huge, right? I think it's worth running one solely for that aspect alone. Moving on, we've got In's Joltik. Pretty cool, right? So it can deal 30, a little bit of Budu hate. We love to see that. And it can discard tools from opponents active. And if you discard a tool, you paralyze them. I mean, this is cool, right? It's got Budu hate in it. It's got Lost Vacuum in it. And it's got Para attached to it. There's a ton of value in this card. And you never even have to energize the Joltik. You're just using this attack with the In Zoroark's attack, Night Joker. I don't see In's Joltik in a lot of the In's decks right now. In's deck is doing the best, as we've talked about. The thing is, there aren't a ton of tool cards really taking over the game right now. If the meta goes in a state where, like, yeah, tool cards are like the reason decks are winning, you'll throw in an In's Joltik for sure. But at the current rate, it's just not worth having there. It takes up a little bit too much space. Togedemaru, not worth using. Way too deep. Cute as hell art. Tapu Koko. This is going to get played in Miraidon decks, absolutely. Right? It's called Thunder Connect, but it basically is a rondo that starts with 60, right? So 20 more for each of you. Oh, correction. It's not a rondo. It's 20 more for each of your benched Pokemon. However, we know how Miraidon works. Area 0, big board. We're going to have all 8 benches. So I still think really strong card on Tapu Koko EX will see play. Iono's, Belly Bolt, and Tab Bulb. Guys, this is how we're going to do it, right? Electric Streamer. As often as you'd like during your turn, you may attach a basic lightning from your hand to one of your Iono's Pokemon. It's that simple, right? A Hyper Rod, grab us 5 energy. Belly Bolt throws 5 on board. That's an extra 100 damage boost on the Voltorb. Now it does have Thunderous Bolt for 230. Next turn it can't attack. Belly Bolt itself, that's a mid attack, but it's there solely to get energy onto not only your Voltorb, but your Iono's Kilowattrel. So Iono's Kilowattrel has Flash Draw. You can discard a basic lightning from it, but then you can draw as many cards until you have 6 in your hand. So we want a ridiculous amount of energy in this Iono's deck because we want to draw a hand, use Belly Bolt to pretty much put our entire hand on our board as energy, then use Kilowattrel to draw cards back, get more energies, Belly Bolt more energies down. I think the deck has crazy potential. And I actually think it's, in my opinion, probably the strongest trainer deck out there once people figure out the ratios properly. But again, Ends is doing the best currently, overtaking Iono's or any of the rest. Lily's Clefairy. This might be like really one of the only Lily's cards we see pop off, right? And the reason it's gonna be one of the best cards ever printed in the current set is because of Fairy Zone. The weakness of each of your opponent's dragon Pokemon is now Psychic. I don't need to say anymore. Dragapult is the BDIF. It currently doesn't have a weakness. Dragons finally have weakness. You're gonna be putting this card in like almost every deck you possibly can, right? It's getting seen in Hydreigon decks. It's everywhere, right? It only takes one Psychic and one Colorless for a named Rondo attack. 20 plus 20 for every benched Pokemon. Guys, this is an Area 0 format too. The benches are huge. Lily's Clefairy EX is S tier. Maybe we do a tier list in the future, but this is S tier. This is cream of the crop. Mr. Mime, one cool attack where you can shuffle your hand and then draw a card for your opponent's hand. If you pull that off, send me a clip and we'll review it because you're goated, but this is too deep. Too deep. Alolan Marowak, here's the other one that frustrates me. We got the Will-O-Wisp for 90 damage, but no burn. Please, just add burn to Will-O-Wisp. Is that too much to ask for? Am I tripping? We got Shuppet. It's Shuppet. It is what it is. Bayonet, though, guys. First off, look how creepy this is. That is like murderous eyes. Curse Speech. One Psychic, your opponent shuffles 3 cards from their hand into their deck. I come from Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Didn't have this concept, but Magic really has it in the Black archetype. Hand discard is strong. This Bayonet leans into having a deck that you can completely gut your opponent's hand every turn, right? With Zerosix Machinations, you drop them to 3. With Curse Speech, you drop them to 0. We can make our opponent top deck now, which is very powerful in a game where top decking could result you in getting one of your one-ofs that just isn't very good. And so I will be making a Banette Curse Speech deck that is all about hand discard, all about bringing someone down to 0, and what we can do after we get the first 0 hand discard is we can use the Gothitelle, right? So you Zerosix, and then you Curse Speech. Oh, no, wait, no, you're right. We can't Gothitelle, can we? Because Gothitelle would require us to... No, okay. Less toxic than I thought it was going to be. I thought this card was going to be like hard locking someone into they never get to play the game again. But because this attack reads your opponent shuffles them in, there's no way that you can guarantee what your opponent will draw next after forcing them to top deck, because we're going to end the turn with them shuffling. So I think this will be powerful and it'll be an interesting rogue deck. I'll be playing a lot of it, but there is definitely counterplay, and it's not going to be super unhealthy for the game. So we'll play it though once it comes out. I'll show you guys exactly how I envision this working. Beldum, Matang, pretty mid cards, but it's cool they're Psychic and not Steel type. What is really cool is this Metagross. Joint Beam, 130 plus damage. If both Beldum and Matang are on the bench, that plus is 150. This Metagross can do 280 damage, guys. That's a crazy amount of damage, right? In a Drago format, that's KO and Reggie Drago. Now, what you have to do though is have both Matang and Beldum on the board. TM Evo is going to handle that one. LDF just put a whole short out about this Metagross being usable, and I think he hit the nail on the head. This is a bad deck Friday kind of card. I think it's too deep. Like, if you're playing Metagross, like, just as a fun deck with your friends, awesome. If you're trying to climb ladder with this, that's too deep. Having to have one of each of the forms isn't that hard to get. I just don't see the payoff being worth it at only 170 HP, right? So easy to KO. Now, talking about some crazy cards. In Sigilyph, one sidekick, 20 damage, but one sidekick, two colorless. If you use this attack when you only have one prize card remaining, you win the game. Obviously, we're going to be using this attack with Zorart. Guys, I know I mentioned it earlier, but this deck is so toolboxy. I mean, there's tool removal, there's spread damage, there's instant prize taking to win the game. We're going to see a couple more cards from End Stuff that make it even more crazy. So I really can't wait to play it. It's the cards I'm most excited for. I don't actually remember seeing this Oricorio earlier. Call for family, search your deck for two basic Pokemon, put them on your bench. You can't even Poffin that. That's too deep, bro. That's crazy. It's 80? You can't even Poffin the Oricorio? What am I missing here? Am I missing anything, or is this just garbage, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the world where this Oricorio is used ever. Lily's Cutiefly, though, obviously you have to have it for the Lilies or Bombi, which is actually pretty cool. So the ability is Inviting Wink. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve, you can have your opponent reveal their hand, put any number of basic Pokemon you find there onto their bench. It's Erica's Invitation, but way better, right? You can pretty much fill your opponent's bench right away. And the thing is, this isn't even something we can use on like turn 2. And if we did go turn 2, if let's say we even went turn 3, like your opponent's already gonna have as many cards as they can on their bench. And if they draw Pokemon, they're probably gonna play them. We're not really in a meta where like holding Pokemon is that important, other than maybe Pheasantipity and a Ursaluna Blood Moon. I could see those taking up space, or if you didn't brick your first hand, you just have a Squawk in there, but you didn't want to play it and use it, and someone pulls a Squawk out to have an easy target. I get it. I just don't think it's that good. Lily's Comfy. Search your deck for any number of basic Lily's Pokemon, put them onto your bench. That's pretty cool because it's Poffin, but way better, right? Again, though, I think you're just playing Lily's Clefairy. I don't see you playing many other Lily's cards. I just think they're mid. Mimikyu EX, though. God, look at this card art. Oh, yeah, that's nice. I'm a big fan of this. Let's see here. Mischievous Hands. Choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, put 3 counters on them. So 60 total damage counters, but split across 2. It's pretty bad. Ghost Trip 120, opponent's actives. Yeah, that's mid. I don't know. At 190 HP, I'm playing regular Mimikyu over the EX, I'll be honest, guys. Delmines, bind down 60. Okay, so Retreat Lock is kind of cool, but not for that much energy. Wow. And then Anchor Smash at 4 and way too deep. If you're playing Delmines, you are way too deep. Impidimp, Morgram, pretty mid, and then a Grimmsnarl, which is interesting because Marnie's Grimmsnarl comes out in the next set, right? Anyway, we have a Grimmsnarl, Shadowy Knot. 50 damage for each colorless in your opponent's retreat cost. Okay, now for one psychic, Grimmsnarl could actually do something, right? I mean, Gravity Stone, Spidops, Area Dose, you got the Stadium that increases it. I mean, you could have +4, which would already be doing 200, and then if they have 2 retreat, wow. Wow. Okay. You know what? I kind of like this Grimmsnarl. I kind of think there's some shenanigans there. I'm not gonna play it, but I might build a deck around it for the fun. Milcery, just to get to Alcremie. Sweet gift. Once during a turn, heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon. This stacks, right? There's nothing in here that says this doesn't stack. Maybe it's used in a couple walled. I don't know. I don't know. I could see it maybe going in like a Frostlass deck because it's like the same amount of damage a monkey could be slotting. But I don't know. I just it is out healing a single Frostlass, but not out healing even two. So I don't know. Cubone. Ooh, okay, that's a weak Cubone. Nothing special there, but I guess it can be Pawfend. We do have the Swinub, the Pillow Swine, and the Mamoswine now. So what's important here is Swinub's actually good for a basic 70 HP that is Pawfendable. Search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon, put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. Call for family on a Swinub, huge, right? So you're going to open the game, hopefully with a Swinub or a Pawfend and a way to get your Swinub inactive. Then you're going to call for family, get more of your Pokemon ready to evolve, likely 2 more Swinubs, maybe a Latias, maybe, there's a lot of things you could grab there in the basic realm. Mamoswine EX, though, is really what we're trying to get. So if we bypass Pillow-Swine with the rare candy, we don't have to wait the turn there. Pillow-Swine's interesting. It doesn't really do anything for us, and it only gains 30 HP. Mamoswine EX is a beast. First off, the artwork is awesome. And at 340 HP, huge. Huge, dude. So it does have Mammoth Carry. Once per turn, you may search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So remember, Swinub lets us bring 2 basics out. Mamoswine lets us find their evolutions. And then Rumbling March. It is a 180 plus attack. It does 40 more for every stage 2 on our bench. So if we have a full setup of stage 2s, 1 in the active our Mamoswine, and 5 on the bench, well, suddenly that's a 380 damage attack, which, if you guys have seen the numbers on the Megas, that's KOing Mega Gardevoir. Oh, wait, no, it's not, because Mega Gardevoir resists fighting, so actually not, but that's not important right now. What's important is that Mamoswine finally has a playable card. We're going to be playing it. Obviously, it works with the Pidgeot. We want stage 2s on stage 2s out there. I'm really stoked for it. I think there's a lot of value in this Mamoswine. I think that you're going to actually be able to set up stage 2 decks really easily. Double fighting is interesting because there's not a great way to energize fighting yet, but people will make it work, and I'm really stoked to see what happens. Here we've got the Larvitar and the Pupitar. These are both just to help us get into the Tyranitar. I do like the flip coin for energy discard on Larvitar. Not at 2 colorless and not at 20. Should have made it 30 for Budew and should have made it cost 1. Then I guess maybe it's too strong. Regirock. Interesting with Rock Armor. If it has an energy attached, it takes 30 less. You could really make this guy thick, but for what reason? Buster Lariat, it's not affected by resistance. This would have been a great attack if it wasn't affected by resistance / effects on the opponent's active. Then we could actually start hitting things like Ogre Pawns. Like, there's a lot more ability there. As it stands, Regirock's a little bit too deep if you're building on it. Pancham, I love Pangoro, but we just don't really have usable Pangoros in the format. Now, a card I am stoked for is Rockruff and Lycanroc. So, Dig It Up actually isn't that bad. Look at the top card of your deck, you can discard it. Could actually be an energy, which would be really cool for Lycanroc. So, its ability is Entangling Spikes. When you play it, you can add 2 spike energies from your discard and attach them directly to Lycanroc. Meaning that with 1 energy in hand, you can just automatically attack with him when you play him. Grabbing Fangs does 40 plus. 40 plus 40 more for every damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, what's a Spike Energy? A Spike Energy is like a current Rocky Helmet. It's doing 2 damage back to the opponent when you get hit, and it stacks, right? So for every Spike Energy on a Pokemon, You're doing 2 damage back to your opponent. Basically, what I'm imagining with this Lycanroc deck is you're stacking it up in a way that once you play it, you can either put damage counters down or you have your opponent in a vicious cycle of they have to KO your Lycanroc, but that means next turn they know another Lycanroc's going to KO them because of the damage the Spike Energies did back to it, right? So I really like the concept here, and I can't wait to see what happens with it moving forward. I kind of want to see it with the Starmie so that you're not KOing yourself like you would with Dusknoir, but you're still able to put 2 more damage counters on, which means 80 more damage because it's 40 for every damage counter. So I'm seeing a potential with the Starmie. We'll build some decks on it. Hop Silicobra and Hop Sandaconda. So these are the first Hops cards we've seen. Everybody thought Hops was gonna ball out before it really started like showing up in tournaments, but the reality is Ends cards are just better than Hops cards right now. Hops could get to a really good place, but Hop, Silicobra, and Sandaconda aren't really getting played. Yeah, you can search for a stadium card. I do like that, but it ends your turn, so it's not like you get immediate value out of it either. Hop Sandaconda, 20 more for each of your benched. At 3 energy, though, I just don't know. I do like Rumble giving a little bit of lock, but I just don't think it's enough when we've seen much better locking cards like Maractus in the format. Alright, so we do have a new Toedscruel here. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, your active Pokemon's retreat cost is 2 colorless less. Does Toedscruel get played in some decks that are needing evolution swaps? I don't know, man. Mudshot's weak. The ability is something. I'm not sure we see a lot of use out of that Toedscruel, but I could be totally wrong. We got Cloth here. Flip 2 coins for each heads, discard an energy, but no damage attached, and it takes 2 colorless. Play the new Lugia. Way better. So that's it for the fightings. I'm pretty unimpressed by the fighting other than Lycanroc. I mean, Mamoswine's cool, but yeah, I don't know. The Hops ones are pretty weak in my opinion. The Dark cards, though, this is where stuff really pops off. So, Wheezing, I don't think this is anything crazy. It's a 2-turn attack. You gotta have the gas overflow, then you get the Crazy Bomb. All it takes is gusting or dying at 130 HP for this to suck. If you're gonna play Wheezing, play the other one that at least has a chance to KO whatever KOs it, right? I do really like that Wheezing, though, by the way. All right, a little coffee in. Let's keep it moving. Paldean Wooper, cute as hell. Obviously, it gets you to Paldean Clodsire EX. Poison Ring, opponent's Pokemon is now poisoned during next turn. They can't retreat. That's cool. That's 60 plus retreat lock. And in a poison package deck, that's 90. I like that. Giga Impact during your next turn. This Pokemon can't attack. I don't like that, especially with a 3 retreat cost. That's tough. T-Tar. Okay, we're finally here, guys. We spoke about this earlier, and God, it is lit. Daunting Gaze. While this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand. Crazy, dude. 190 base HP. We can put a luxurious cape on him. We can swap into him from Excelgor, who already could do 140, and then this attack crackling stomp, 150 damage. Discard the top 2 of your opponent's deck. I'll be real, I'm gonna play Tyranitar. I'm gonna build a deck around this, and I cannot wait to mill people while they cannot freaking use items. I just can't wait for Tyranitar. He's one of the cooler Pokemon ever designed. Artwork is beautiful here. You know, head to toe. I love it. I'm a huge fan. We got Inns Purloin. Guys, we have not seen an Inns Life Art. We've only seen Inns Purloin. I just don't know. I think Pilfer is interesting, right? 30 damage, opponent reveals hand, put a card you find there on the bottom of their deck. Maybe you use an Inns Purloin to remove a Budew from the board and cause a little hand disruption. I think this is just bad. It's not seeing play in Inns decks actively. Yeah. I'm out on it. I'm out on Ins Purloin unless we get an Ins Lipard. This is probably not going to my Ins deck, but I could see where a little bit of hand disruption could work, and they did give it the 30. It does take out the Badu, so that's something. In Zorua, cute as hell. You gotta have it. It's Buddy Poffin, searchable, right? They did it right by the HP. And what matters is that it gets us into In Zoroark EX. The ability trade. I did not play in the GX era, but I have been researching the game and educating myself on the history of the game, what's been strong, what hasn't been. The ability trade is proven. It's tried and true. It has always worked. It was on the Enzorite GX version. It's the same thing as Curlia in the Gardevoir deck now. Discard a card from your hand, draw 2 cards. Likely we're going to be sending energies to the discard to use ramping and turbo cards that get them back and onto our Pokemon. But what really matters here is that we have Night Joker. So we can choose one of our benched Ins Pokemon and use its attack as Night Joker. This is how the whole deck operates. Darmanic Cannon, right? Boom, we can take them out. We've got the Joltik if we needed it. Obviously, we just saw the Purloin, but what really makes this deck tick... Oh, and Sigilyph too, we saw. There is a Reshiram that we will come up on soon, which is very, very cool. So, in Zoroark, amazing. I love Zoroark personally. One of my favorite Pokemon ever. I love the Black and White series. I'm a huge fan of In. Yeah, I don't have much more to say. I'm going to be playing this deck. The second it releases, we're building the deck. Pangoro. Man, I love Pangoro, but it's just never been given a good card. Let's see. 30 damage. Choose one of your opponent's attacks during your next turn. That Pokemon can't use that attack. I mean, maybe Torment works against something like a Raging Bolt, but dude, their deck is just so easy to shift around. I think they just put the other Bolt in and attack anyway. Wow. And then 160 can't attack next turn. That's mid. Sorry, Pangoro. New low kicks. All around worse. Too deep. But wow, the card art's actually has some Batman type stuff. Okay. Huge fan of the card art, but weak card. Bombardier, glide for 20, not even Badu hate. Discard all energy, 120 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Interesting snipe, actually. I don't mind the 120 snipe. I hate that it's double dark, single colorless. If it was double dark, this card would be hella played. If like this was double dark and Glide did 30, that might be a crazy card. Might be too powerful though. Oh, a Scavalier. Here's what evolves from the little blue guy that I forgot about. My goodness. Yeah, this is way too deep. Pierce 20 damage, Iron Buster 120. You're not playing this. I'll be honest. I don't see the point in a Scavalier. Okay, Ins Clink Clang and Clink Clang. So, hypothetically, we can use double spin. We can use spinning gear to confuse them. But most likely we would be using Cling Clang to triple smash 120 for every heads, flip 3 coins. Nah, you're not even using the Ins Cling Clang Clang or Clink. So, too deep. Just way too deep, man. I mean, what if you only flip 1 and do 120 for that attack? I could see 360 is pretty cool. You're doing a lot, but I also think that Reshiram handles big numbers like that, so we'll see. Galarian Stunfisk. I really like the art. I think that's hilarious. I did not realize that Galarian Stunfisk is a bear trap. That okay. That's pretty hype. I like that. Springing Bite. Okay, with the springing. I like what's going on there. Magearna. Okay. Auto heal. As long as this Pokemon is in your active spot, when you attach an energy to one of your Pokemon, heal 90 from that Pokemon. A Latios in a wall deck with the... I just don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe it does something there. Again, Spike Draw would have been awesome if it just did 30, dude. Oh, where is the Badu hate? Why can't we just get 10 more on so many of these attacks? But I think there will be a play style where Magearna gets played. I'm not sure exactly what it is or what deck it's going to be, but 90 is a lot to heal, so we'll see how it plays. Hops Corviknight. Okay. Shoot through, 50 damage. 50 damage to one of your opponent's benched as well. Wow. And then stealing 150 during next turn. Pokemon takes 60 less from attacks. Wow. Okay. The shoot through, pretty okay. I like the 50 and 50 to the bench, kind of like Darmanic Cannon, but a little bit weaker. However, we do know that Hops comes packed with ways to boost the damage on their attacks, so Hops Corviknight could do some awesome things. Q Font for 80, Copperaja, both of these cards, too deep. 3 for 100 and 4 for 160. Yeah, no thank you. Hopzation, here we go. Close Cleave. This is the exact same attack as Corviknight for one colorless, but it's 30 and 30 to one of the bench. So this is direct Budu hate. I love to see it. Brave Slash is 4 energy, 240. Next turn, this Pokemon can't use Brave Slash. Why is Hopzation so important? Right now, Hopzation is being played in Archaludon decks, and it is actually working really well. So Archaludon gets beat by Cornerstone Ogerpon. Hopzation is a metal type that you can just slot into Duraludon and instantly energize to get around the Cornerstone Ogerpon. So very cool card. I think a ton of potential on it, and with all the hops boosters we've seen, that close cleave can actually do some really good things. So guys, keep an eye on Hopzation with Archaludon looking really good. Turns out that we're actually a long ways into this. We've got dragons and a few trainers left. I am going to go grab some water, take a quick little break, and we will move into the dragon types, trainers, energies, and all of the above. BRB. We're back at it, getting active on this. So we just finished the steel types, looked at Hopzation, which again is making some cool waves with Arch. Let's go ahead and get into the dragon types because as you can see, Bagon, Shelgon, Salamence EX. Salamence is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. Ever since I was a kid, I want to say I got a Salamence deck way long ago. I was probably like 7 or 8. My sister's soccer tournament. I remember my buddy and I both like had just enough money to get a structure deck. And I never really played much after that, which is really weird to me, but I got a Salamence EX deck, and I remember just keeping that Salamence coin with me forever, man. So, huge fan, tons of nostalgia, but interesting card. Wide Blast, 50 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Without Manaphy and before Shaman, that's going to be pretty powerful. And then Dragon Impact for 300. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Water and Fire's energy or interesting. Water and Fire energy is interesting. Sheesh. I think Salamence is just tough to energize, but there's a way to play it for sure. Someone's gonna do it. Someone's gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be someone in a city league for sure. So keep your eyes peeled for Salamence EX. I'm really excited. If you guys have any ideas, throw it in the comments below because I definitely want to build a deck around it. Dredian, you know, Dragon's Rush, 20 damage, attach a basic fire energy from your discard to one of your dragon Pokemon. Again, it's in that same water, fire. Who knows? Who knows if maybe these two are gonna cause something to happen. Dragon Rush needed to just do 30 damage though. I'm telling you, this 20 is just not doing it after releasing Budu. Alright, last little sip of coffee down. Let's power through this thing. In's Reshiram. Here's the kicker. Powerful Rage. 20x damage. This attack does 20 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So if you guys remember, we could hypothetically do 360 damage with In's Clink Clang if we flipped 3 heads. In Zoroark has 280 HP. If we take a 240 or a 260 attack, we're dealing 480 or 520 back with In's Reshiram. Kling Clang just doesn't have a purpose there. I think Virtuous Flame could see some use. 170 is an okay number. It definitely KOs, your smaller Pokemon. I mean, 170 KOs that Metagross we looked at straight up, right? So the non-EX single prizer decks, I could see throwing down an Ends Reshiram and being like, wow, 170 is enough to take out all of your Pokemon. Realistically, I think you're using Darmanic Cannon way more than Virtuous Flame, and you're just using Reshiram for powerful Rage to revenge KO, but I like it. I can't wait for the deck. We've said enough about Ends. Let's move on. We've got Hops Snorlax. Attack of all your Hops Pokemon, do 30 more to your opponent's active Pokemon. This does not stack, but this means that Corviknight opens with an 80 damage. This means that the Sandaconda has even more damage on a trapping attack. This means that the Zacian does 60 and then 30 to the bench. Or this means that Zacian does 270 with his base attack. Is that what it was? It was 240 plus 30, that's 270. That's solid. Sentret and Furret. We're not going to see play here, but great artworks. Dude, look how swole this Sentret is. Oh, my man is beefy. Bro, that Sentret is thick. What? I can't be the only person that stopped on this card review for the Sentret, right? If you made it this far in the video, comment swole sent. Dunsparce. It's got a retreat cost, just not as good, but the artwork's insane. And then Dunsparce EX, this card's gonna ball out, right? This has the ability to really pop off. We know Dunsparce is gonna be one of the better draw engines post rotation, so to see Dunsparce EX have the ability to still be an attacker while being a part of that draw engine set is very powerful. Deal 60 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon EX, and Vs are going away, so EX decks are going to be fully EX. Kecleon, too deep, coin flipping to prevent damage, you know how it is. Tropius, weird that it's not grass type, but he does have Fruitful Harvest, which is trade for 3 cards, but requires an attack, so pretty bad. Audino does have the ability to bring back a supporter, but there's far better ways of doing that. Minchino, Chinchino, maybe the Minch gets... I don't think Chinchino ever gets played without Lugia, so I don't see a lot happening there. Noibat and Noivern. So if you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent, ignore all energy and the cost of this Pokemon's Panic Howl attack. I actually think Noivern and Ninetales could make for a deck. I know that's crazy to think about, but utilizing things like Judge to even out the hands, utilizing some discards to do it, or some straight draw powers to do it. I really like the idea of using this Noivern as like your cram, getting early damages off, and then sweeping out with like a Ninetales. It probably won't be that good, but it'll be fun as heck to play. Kamala, Goodnight Knocking, 30 damage. Both Pokemon are now asleep during next turn. This Pokemon does 100 more damage to your opponent's active, so pretty risky. I don't see that getting played very much. Drampa, it's Drampa. Squovit, that doesn't turn our hand to 1, so we're never playing that Squovit. Rest in peace to the Squov Bib engine. And here's the Hops, Rookidee, and Corvisquire. So they're not Steel type, because I believe in the mainline games, Hops or the Rookidee and Corvisquire are 2 flying types, and then it gets Steel type on Corviknight. But Intimidating Stare, we're reducing damage. Hops, Corvisquire, Razor Wing, Speed Dive. Speed Dive does the 30. So, of course, that's a big number to keep in mind. Hops Wooloo, and then Hops Double. Okay, so let's see here. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve, you can Gust. Wow, okay. That's why Hops Double is being played in Archaludon with the Zacian right now. So this is a free Gust, which you already have so many Gust in the Archaludon deck. I get it. That is a awesome card. Let's see, Cramorant for 50 damage until you flip tails. Okay, guys, we're coin flipping on the Cram. Hops Cramorant, though. If your opponent doesn't have exactly 3 or 4 prizes remaining, this attack does nothing. Fickle Spit for 120. 1 colorless. We can boost that with our Hops, our Snorlax. Some of the trainer cards will help us as well. But 3 or 4 exactly is a weird line to be holding on to. Lechonk, Oinkalone, too deep. Squawkabilly, but it's not our Squawkabilly EX, so I'm not playing that. So that does it for all the Pokemon cards, guys. We'll go ahead and hit the trainers and round this thing out. Billy and Onair, draw 2. If you have 10 or more cards in your hand, draw 2 more. So what? This is a win more card for pretty much only Tinkaton, I guess. I don't hate it, but I kind of hate it at the same time. I'm not a big Tinkaton fan. Tons of black belts practice. I actually did play a lot of Tinkaton. Let me get that straight. Not a big fan of playing against Tinkaton. I do like the black belts practice card though, 40 more damage, but we've got that card now. Rock Scouting is getting seen in a lot of City League decks right now. I've seen it pretty frequently. So you can search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon, reveal them, put them into your hand, or search your deck for a single evolution. This is basically capturing Aroma, but you get to choose. It's got a better basic version, and it takes a supporter slot. So do with that what you will. Hops Bag. Get 2 basic Hops Pokemon, put them on your bench. That easy, that simple. It's as strong as it sounds. Hops Choice Band. This card's attached to that attack costs 1 less colorless and does 30 more damage to your opponent's active. So that's huge. Cram is attacking for free, just like our classic Cram, doing 150. Our Corvus Squire is actually doing 60 for free there. Huge fan of this Hops Choice Band, but again, you're not seeing a lot of it getting played right now, so In is just taking the priority at the moment. Iris's Fighting Spirit, discard your hand. If you do, draw until you have 6. Oh, discard a card. If you do, draw until you have 6. I mean, maybe Iris's goes well in an Iono deck because we already have that concept of Kilowattrel where you want to, fill your board with energies and then draw back to 6. So we'll see. Lavencia will for sure be played in Ionos once during each player's turn. Put 2 basic lightning from your discard to your hand. We're going to see that not only in Ionos, but we're going to see this in Raging Bolt decks as well. So keep that in mind. Lily's Pearl, very interesting tool. It's actually reduces the prize cards taken by 1. Can only be put on Lily's Pokemon. So on Lily's Clefairy, if you're doing a 4x Lily's Clefairy deck, this is going to be pretty important. Inn's Castle, very cool card. This just gives free retreat to all of your Inn's Pokemon, right? Each Inn's Pokemon in play, yours and your opponents have no retreat cost. Guys, this is such a quality of life card, especially with how toolboxy that deck is. Really going to let you set your board up in the right state. Turn 1, turn 2, just continuing onward. Inn's PP up. Attach a basic energy from your discard to one of your benched Inn's Pokemon. Super important because we are using trade to send energies to draw cards. So then we use this to bring that energy back to our Pokemon. We have Postwick, another Hops booster. The attacks of Hops Pokemon, both yours and your opponents, do 30 more to your opponent's active. Guys, that's 90 total boosting damage, meaning that Hopzation hits for 330 with all 3 boosters. That's a dead Zard. That's a dead Polt. That's a lot of good numbers. So, interesting that we have a new Professor's Research print as Sada when we already had the Sada print. So, Sada continuing to get love. Love it. Redeemable ticket. I actually thought this was called exchange ticket, and I think I've called it that in a couple of videos. I thought it was exchange ticket. Anyway, after counting your prize cards, shuffle them, put them on the bottom of your deck. Take that many cards from the top of your deck and put them face down as your prize cards. People are really sad about Heavy Ball going away. This is a better Heavy Ball, guys. You don't have to use it at 6. You can wait till you have 3 prizes and you know exactly what's in them. Or if you have multiple of your prizes that you know you need, this is a way to get out of that, right? So I think Redeemable Ticket will be a one of in almost every hyper competitive deck because it does stop you from losing key set pieces. You can't run 2 ace specs. If you need your ace spec, you're probably running a Redeemable Ticket. It is what it is. Necessary evil, you're going to be running them. Ruffian, discard a Pokemon tool and a special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. I don't know. Pretty mid to me. I mean, Lugia's out of the mix, so we'll see what happens with Ruffian. I don't see it getting a ton of play. Super Potion, this is actually a reprint, and it's 60 from one of your Pokemon if you do discard an energy attached. So I want to say that Super Potion with Boomerang is free. Still gets added back due to Boomerang's effect, but Boomerang might be only from an attack, so I'd have to double check that. Spike energy, we talked about this earlier with the Lycanroc. This is the 2 extra damage for every spike energy attached when it takes damage from an opponent's attack. I could even see spike energy going on things like Budew to use things like a TM Evo turn 1. And if they have a Budew, it puts you in a really good position to just KO them next turn. You did the 20 from the spike, you've got the 10 yourself, so I think Spike Energy is cool. I think the Lycanroc deck's going to be awesome. I'm really stoked for the inset. I think everything about it is super fun. I really just can't wait for a Journey Together. It's been a blast putting this list together. I spent way longer on it than I thought I would, but we went through pretty much every single card, so excuse me. Again, guys, we have the Cook-Off Creators Tournament coming up. I'm going to put the flyer up on that at the end of the video, but everybody go check out the Chef Husky announcement for it. And then we're going to be joining in that thing, getting after it very soon, playing against some of the bigger names in the scene. So I can't wait. You guys know we're going to be putting our best foot forward. Thank you for all the love as usual. You made it this far, throw a subscribe on the channel, throw a like for me, share it to someone that you think would like it as well. This is my opinion of all the cards coming out in the next set. So let's get after it and build some sweet trainer decks together. I'll see you guys in the next deck list. Thank you and peace out.